So, ayun. Ulit tayo sa umpisa. Sorry na, take 2. So, ayun, good morning ulit. Ang topic natin for today is corporation's basic consideration. So, let's define corporation. So, corporation, as defined in the Corporation Code of the Philippines or the Revised Corporation Code of the Philippines, Section 2, a corporation is an artificial being created by operation of law, having the right of successions and the powers, attributes, and properties expressly authorized by the law or incident to its existence. So, para mas maintindihan natin yung definition, punta tayo sa attributes. Pag-usapan natin isa-isa yung part ng definition ng corporation. So, first, corporation is an artificial being. So, sabi dito, is an artificial being with a personality separate apart from its individual shareholders or members. So, artificial being, ibig sabihin, mayroon siyang separate juridical personality. So, para din siyang isang tao. So, pwede siyang mag-enter sa contract, pwede siyang makasuhan, at pwede siyang magkaso. And etc. na pwedeng gawin ng isang tao. Pero, may limitation yon. So, ibig sabihin nun, different siya, parang different person siya sa mga shareholders niya. So, for additional info, kasi wala ito sa book nyo. So, ito, there are consequences in its attributes as an artificial being. So, first is depth of its, So, the depth of the corporation are not the depths of its stockholders, nor are the depths of the stockholders the depths of the corporation. So, kung ano yung inutang ng corporation, yung utang na yun is under the name of the corporation. Kasi nga, isa siyang artificial being. And then, kung ano man yung inutang ng shareholders, utang lang yun ng shareholders, hindi yun magiging utang ng corporation. So, unlike sa partnership, diba? So, next, stockholders are not the owners of the asset of the corporation, but only have an interest therein or indirect interest. Meaning, yung mga capital or funds na nilagay sa corporation or parang kinontribute para sa funds ng corporation is kay corporation na yun at hindi sa mga stockholders or shareholders niya. So, next, connection to corporate property or affairs. Stockholders cannot maintain actions in their own way, and they have no right to recover possession of property belonging to the corporation or to recover damages from injury. So, hindi na pwede kunin kung ano yung nilagay sa corporation or hindi din pwede yung pagkuha ng damages or danyos kapag may nagawa ang corporation sa inyo or if may nangyari sa inyo. So, lastly, in taxation, the income of the corporation is not the income of shareholders who maybe are still required to pay taxes of the dividends they may derive from such and crops. So, sa corporation, yung profit ng corporation ay hindi mapupunta sa shareholders. They will just only receive dividends. And then sa taxation, iba yung tax ng corporation and iba din yung tax ng dividends. Somehow, double taxation siya. Pero matatapik nyo to sa mga incoming lessons nyo sa law. Tama ba? Sa law on partnership siguro. So, punta na tayo sa pangalawang attributes ng corporation. Sabi dito, it is created by operation of law. So, sabi, it cannot come into existence by mere agreement of the parties as in the case of business partnership. So, unlike partnership that with just a mere agreement is mabubuo na yung partnership. Sa corporation, hindi, that is not the case. Okay, sige, Irish. So, ayun sa corporation nga, hindi yun yung case. So, dito sa corporation, they require special authority from the sovereign power. Such authority may be granted either to general law providing a guideline for incorporation of private corporation. So, in which in our jurisdiction is the Corporation Code of the Philippines. So, they need to go through the Corporation Code of the Philippines and need to comply the guidelines for incorporation. Ayan yung mga pagdadaanan ng isang business or isang corporation para maging before siya matawag or maging corporation talaga. So, next attribute is it has the right of succession. So, a corporation, a corporation share perpetual existence unless its article of incorporation provides otherwise. So the death, withdrawal, insolvency, or incapacity of the individual shareholders or members will not dissolve the corporation. The transfer of ownership of shares of stock does not dissolve the corporation. So dito, si corporation has the capacity to of continued existence. So subject lang siya ng subject to the period of stated in the articles of incorporation. So, ang corporation daw, it can exist for a period not exceeding 50 years from the date of incorporation. And pwede silang mag-extend ng periods not exceeding naman ng 50 years subject to the amendment of the article of incorporation. So, dito sa corporation, unlike sa partnership, si partnership kasi once na may mamatay na once na may mamatay na isang partner niya or may isang partner na gustong umalis, is madi-dissolve na yung partnership. Pero dito sa sa corporation, kahit daw may umalis na isang shareholders, may mamatay na shareholders, may maging siguro mabankrupt na shareholders, is magpapatuloy pa din yung corporation at hindi siya ma-dissolve. Even kahit i-transfer mo yung shares of stock, kumare ako, binenta ko yung shares ko kay ate nyo KAYSY, hindi pa din siya ma-dissolve. So number 4, has the powers, attributes, and properties expressly authorized by law or inherent to its existence. So ibig sabihin, kung ano lang yung sinabi or kung ano yung nasa bylaws or articles of incorporation, ayun lang yung power, attributes, or properties niya. So actions beyond sa mga nasabi sa bylaws and sa articles of incorporation will be void. So a corporation, meron siyang tawag dito. So si corporation daw, meron siyang power, 'di ba? So tatlo ay hindi siya power, pero nasa dulo na siya ng dila ko, pero hindi ko siya maisip yung right term. So banggitin ko na lang si siya, parang range siguro ng power niya. So ayun, meron siyang ultra vires, various vires. So, yun daw ultra vires, contract beyond its power. So, beyond power niya nga, diba? So, magiging illegal and void siya. Kapag, naman, intra vires within legitimate power. So, yun, syempre, kapag yung action niya is within the power, so, siya, valid. And then, kapag illegal acts, contrary to law, morals, goods, customs, or public or order policy, syempre, void yun and illegal. Illegal acts nga, di ba? So, mag-move na tayo sa advantages of the corporation. So, number 1, the corporation has a legal capacity to act as a legal entity. As I said nga kanina, mayroon siyang juridical personality. So, para siyang isang tao. Pwede siyang mag-enter sa contract, pwede siyang kasuhan at pwede siyang magkaso, mag-file ng case. So, number 2, shareholders have limited liability. Limited liability kasi yung utang or yung liability ng corporation is hindi magiging liable, hindi magiging liable doon si shareholders. Kung ano yung utang ng corporation, utang lang yun ng corporation under its name at hindi kay shareholders. Unlike sa partnership na kapag umutang ang partnership is magiging liable ang partners. And then number 3, it has continuity of existence. So, sabi ko nga kanina, kung ikukumpara siya sa partnership, hindi siya agad-agad madi-dissolve. Hindi siya madi-dissolve, pero kasi sa sa Articles of Incorporation or Articles of Corporation, lang siya hanggang 50 years siya, though pwede siyang mag-exceed. Pwede silang mag-renew para sa life ng corporation. So number 4, share of stocks can be transferred without the consent of the other shareholders. So dito, no need ka na magpaalam sa ibang shareholders. Katulad nga ng sabi ko kanina, pwede kong ibenta yung stock ko. Pwede kong ibenta yung stock ko kay Ate Casey nyo without informing the other shareholders. So number 5, its management is centralized in the board of directors. So ang board of directors kasi, sila yung nagma-manage or nagde-decide ng mga decisions sa corporation. And then number 6, shareholders are not general agents of the business. So unlike sa partnership na pwede tayong mag-act as an agent without the consent ng other partner, dito sa corporation, kailangan expressly authorized na yun yung power mo. So si shareholders, hindi sila basta-basta or hindi sila general agents kasi nga may naka-assign for those decision makings, sina board of directors, yung naka-assign doon. So number 7, greater ability to acquire funds. So of course, corporation siya, mas malaki sa partnership, and lalo naman mas malaki sa mas malaking business sa partnership and sa sole proprietorship. So natural, mas malaki yung, it has a greater ability to acquire funds. Mas malaki yung ability niya or capacity niya na mag-acquire ng funds. Kasi nga madami din yung tao na involved sa corporation. So mag-move naman na tayo sa disadvantages of a corporation. So number 1, a corporation is relatively complicated information and management. So ayun nga, madami siyang kailangang pagdaanan para ma-form ang corporation. Katulad ng mga nabanggit ko kanina, kailangan niyang dumaan ng Article of Incorporation and mag-comply sa guidelines. And then number 2, there is a greater degree of government control and supervision. So ayun, dahil isa siyang malaking business, may degree of government control din siya. And then supervision, kasi syempre as a big business, madaming nakamata sa kanila or parang kailangang i-monitor. So number 3, it requires a relatively high cost of formation and operation. So kapag i-form ang corporation, madami kang kailangang bayadan. Doon pa lang sa pag-form, sa mga paperwork, ganun-ganun, kailangan mo nang magbayad. And then syempre kapag nag-start ka ng mag-operate, may mga babayadan ka din doon. So number 4, it is subject to heavier taxation than other forms of business organization. So dito sa sa corporation, 30% of their profit is subject to tax. So mas mataas yung percentage ng ita-tax sa kanila compare sa ibang business nga daw. So number 5, minority shareholders are subservient to the wishes of the majority. So sa decisions, kailangang majority. So number 6, in large corporations, management and control had been separated from ownership. Kasi dito kasi sa number 6, meron ngang board of directors who manage and control the corporation. And then number 7, Transferability of shares permit the uniting of incompatible and conflicting elements in one venture. So, disadvantage siya kasi nga 'di ba, sabi ko kanina, nakalagay sa advantage na no need to ask consent para ibenta mo yung shares mo sa ibang tao. Pwede mo siyang i-transfer. Pero kasi consequence niya, paano kung yung pinagbentahan mo ng shares mo or pinagtransferan mo ng shares mo is yung business niya, sabihin mo is not compatible sa operation ng corporation. So, doon, possible na magkaroon ng incompatibility and then conflicts. And then, move na tayo sa classes of corporation. So, may dalawang classes ng corporation, si stock corporation and si non-stock corporation. So, basahin ko lang to na sa PowerPoint. So, Section 3 of the Corporation Code classified private corporation into number 1, stock corporations. Corporations which have share capital divided into shares and are authorized to distribute to the holders of such dividends, such share dividends or allotments of the surplus profit on the basis of the shares held. So, number 2, non-stock corporation. A non-stock corporation is one where no part of its income is distributable as dividends to its members, trustees, or officers. Any profit that a non-stock corporation may obtain as an incident to its operation shall whenever necessary or proper be used for furtherance of the purpose or purposes for which the corporation was organized. So, dito, pag-usapan naman natin yung purpose, distribution, and composition and governing board ng stock corporation and non-stock corporation. So, pag-compare natin sila sa purpose daw ng stock corporation stock corporation are organized for profit to be enjoyed by the stockholders or yung mga shareholders. And then sa non-stock corporation naman are organized for the purpose other than profit. So, iba yung nabuo yung non-stock corporation para sa purpose niya. Hindi dahil para kumita siya para enjoy ng mga shareholders. So, sa distribution of profits naman, sa stock corporation, profits are declared and they are distributed to shareholders or stockholders. Sabi nga kasi sa purpose ng stock corporation, organize siya for the profits to be enjoyed by the stockholders. So, yung profit niya is dinideclare and dinidistribute sa shareholders. Kaya siya kumikita para i-distribute sa shareholders. While sa non-stock, profit in non-stock corporation are not so distributed but used to further its own purposes. So, yung profit ng non-stock corporation is hindi dinidivide sa shareholders. Yung profit is for the use for its own purposes. Kung ano yung purpose ng non-stock corporation kung bakit sila nabuo. And then sa composition, stock corporations are composed of stockholders, also called as shareholders or share owners. And then non-stock corporation are composed of members. And then sa governing board, a stockholder is governed by a board of directors, while non-stock corporation is governed by what is generally called board of trustees. So, in short, si stock corporation, kumikita siya ng profit para sa stockholders niya. And si non-stock corporation, hindi siya kumikita ng profit para sa mga stockholders. Instead, kumikita siya ng profit para sa purpose nila like yung sa charitable religious, educations, and etc. Sabi nga dito, asan yung arrow? Sabi nga dito, non-stock corporation may be formed or organized for charitable, religious, educational, professional, cultural, recreational, fraternal, literary, social, civic service, or similar purposes. So, move tayo sa other classifications of a corporation. So, meron tayong 7 if I'm not mistaken. So, first is according to number of persons. So, meron tayong dalawa, si corporation aggregate and si corporation sole or a special form of corporation usually associated with clergy. So, sabi dito, corporation aggregate is a corporation consisting of more than one corporator. While si corporation sole naman, it is a corporation which consists of only one member or corporator and his successors such as a bishop. So sa ano daw, corporation aggregate, madami silang stockholders. It is composed of several persons. While si corporate sole is lang siya, composed of one corporator and his successor. So successor, parang sabihin mo na yung susunod or parang tagapagmana or yung susunod na maglilid ng corporation. Sabihin na natin, ganun. So number 2. So wait, kapag nag-end to, balik tayo agad. So ayun, balik tayo. So number 2, according to nationality. So meron tayong dalawa din. So domestic corporation and foreign corporation. So ang domestic corporation is a corporation organized under Philippine laws. And then yung foreign corporation is a corporation organized under foreign laws. So no need to discuss, madali siyang intindihin. Domestic corporation under Philippine law and foreign corporation under foreign law. And number 3, according to whether for public or private purpose. So we have 2, public corporation and private corporation. So private corporation is a corporation formed or organized for the government of a portion of the state. Examples are the provinces, cities, municipalities, or barangays. While private corporation is a corporation created for private aim, benefit, or purpose. So si public corporation daw is a company that sold a portion of itself to the public via initial public offering. While si private corporation is a corporation that is owned by the company's founders, management, or a group of private investors. So mag-move na tayo. So number 4, according to whether for charitable purpose or not. So we have 3. Number 1 is ecclesiastical corporation. These are the corporation organized for religious purposes. Number 2, eleemosynary corporation, those established for public charity. And last, civil corporation. These are those established for business or profit. Next naman, according to their legal rights to corporate existence. So dalawa ulit. Si de jure corporation and si de facto corporation. So, de jure corporation is a corporation existing in law, in fact or law. It is organized in strict conformity with the law. And then si de facto is a corporation existing in fact but not in law. So, si de jure, they are considered de jure if they had done everything mandated by the law to become a corporation. While si de facto, it exists when steps are taken to incorporate the enterprise, but the corporation did not comply with every aspect of the applicable statutes. So, statutes, yun yung mga written laws. So, next is according to degree of public participation with regard to share ownership. So, first is closed corporation. A corporation whose share ownership is limited to selected persons or members of a family not exceeding 20 person. So, limited siya or selected lang siya sa members ng family not exceeding 20 person. Kaya nga siya tinawag na closed corporation. And then next is open corporation. A corporation where the share is available for subscription or purchase by any person. So, open siya, sabihin mo na open to all. Sabihin na natin ganon. And then, letter C, publicly held corporation. A corporation with a class of equity securities listed on an exchange or with assets in excess of 50 million and having 200 or more holders, or at least 200 of which are holding at least 100 shares of a class of its equity securities. Then 7, or last, according to their relation to another corporation. So ito yung parent or holding corporation and then subsidiary corporation. So kapag sinabi nating parent corporation, it is a corporation that is related to another corporation, that it has the power to either directly or indirectly elect the majority of the directors of a subsidiary corporation. Pag etong, kung tamang naalala ko, si parent corporation, mayroon siyang 100% control. Mayroon siyang 100% control sa isang subsidiary corporation. So, subsidiary corporation, it is a corporation controlled by another corporation known as a parent corporation. So, yun nga, ang nagko-control sa subsidiary corporation is si parent corporation. So, mag-move na tayo sa steps in creation of a corporation. So, we have 3 steps. First is the promotion. It is the process of the bringing together the incorporators or the persons interested in the business. So, of procuring subscription or capital for the corporation and of setting in motion the machinery that leads to the incorporation of the corporation of itself. So, syempre, nabubuo naman yung corporation kapag, sabi nga dito, bringing together the incorporators or the person interested in the business. Interested dun sa business na i-form nyo. So, number 2, incorporation. So, may mga steps siya. So, A, B, C, D, E, F, G. Hindi ko na siya babasahin isa-isa. Bahala na kayong magbasa nito kasi madali naman na siyang intindihin. So, in short, itong sa incorporation, ito yung mga paperworks in creating the corporation. And then number 3, formal organization and commencement of a business operation. Nandito yung mga adoption of bylaws and the election of the board of directors and administrative officers. Andito din yung other necessary steps to enable the corporation to transact legitimate business for which it was created. So let's move to the articles of incorporation. So, Corporation Code of the Philippines is the general law which governs the creation of private corporation. So, Section 14 provides that all corporations organized under this code shall file with the Securities and Exchange Commission articles of incorporation in any of the official languages duly signed and acknowledged by all the incorporators containing substantially the following matters except as otherwise prescribed by the code or by special laws. So merong 9. Number 1 is the name of corporation. Number 2, the specific purpose or purposes for which the corporation is formed. Number 3, the principal place of business which must be within the Philippines. Number 4, the term of existence. So ayun, sabi ko nga kanina, yung existence ng isang corporation is not exceeding 50 years, but can be extended provided that the extension should be filed 5 years before the expiration of its term. So next is number 5. The names, nationalities, and residence of the incorporators. Number 6, the number of directors or trustees, which shall be not less than 5 or more, nor more than 15. So, balik tayo kasi less than 1 minute na. So, stop share ko na lang. Antayin na lang muna natin na mag-end then balik agad. So, ayun nga, number 5. The names, nationalities, and residence of the incorporators. Number 6, the numbers of directors, trustees. So, which shall not be less than 5, nor more than 15. So, hindi bababa ng 5 person, and then hindi din lalampas ng 15. So, number 7, the names, nationalities, and residences of the persons who shall act as a director or trustees until the first regular directors or trustees are elected and qualified. Number 8, if it is a stock corporation, amount of authorized share capital in pesos, dapat nandun daw yun. Number of shares into which it is divided. And then sa C, in case the shares are par value shares, dapat the par value of its shares, dapat nandito itong mga itong tatlo. The par value of its shares, names, nationalities, and residences of the original subscribers, the amount subscribed and paid by each subscriber on his subscription. Then letter D, in case of no par value, the articles need only state such fact and the number of shares into which said share capital is divided. So dapat present daw to kapag stock corporation. And kapag non-stock corporation naman daw, the amount of its capital, the names, nationalities, and residences of the contributors, and the amount contributed. Yan naman yung dapat present kapag non-stock corporation daw yung fino-form mo. So, kailangan, itong mga nabanggit dito, kailangan present yan sa Articles of Incorporation or yan yung content ng Articles of Incorporation. So, let's move on naman sa bylaws. So, bylaws is the rules of actions adopted by the corporation for its internal government and for the government of its officers, shareholders, or members. It shall also be adopted within 1 month from the issuance of the Certificate of Incorporations by the Security and Exchange Commission, and failure to do so will revoke its registration. So here are the contents of the bylaws. So number 1, the time, place, and manner of calling and conducting regular or special meeting of the directors or trustees. Number 2, the time and manner of calling and conducting regular or special meeting of the shareholders or members. Number 3, the required quorum in meetings of shareholders or members and the manner of voting therein. Number 4, the form for proxies of shareholders and members and manner of voting them. Number 5, the qualification, duties, and compensation of directors or trustees, officers, and employees. Number 6, the time for holding the annual election of directors or trustees and the mode of manner of giving notice thereof. Number 7, the manner of election or appointment and the term of office of all officers other than directors or trustees. 8, the penalties for violation of the bylaws. Number 7, in the case of stock corporation, the manner of issuing stock certificates, and then last, such other manners as may be necessary for the proper or convenient transaction of its corporate business and affairs. So ito yung content ng bylaws. Let's move on naman sa right ng shareholders. So meron siyang 8 na rights. So here are the following. So number 1, a shareholder has the right to be issued certificate of stock or other evidence of the share ownership and to transfer such shares. So kailangan may issuance of certificate of stock. And number 2, right to attend and vote in person or by proxy at shareholders meeting. So may right daw siyang umattend and mag-vote. So number 3, shareholder has the right to elect and remove directors. So si shareholders daw, may right siya na mag-elect and mag-remove ng directors. So number 4, shareholder has the right to adopt, amend, or repeal the bylaws. Then number 5, right to purchase a portion of any new shares issued to maintain the same percentage of stock ownership. So this right is known as the preemptive right. However, this right is not absolute and may be denied. So number 6, shareholder has the right to receive dividends when declared. And then 7, right to inspect corporate books and records and to receive financial reports of the corporation's operation. And last, it has the right to participate in the distribution of corporate asset upon dissolution. So let's move on to the components of the corporation. So number 1 is so dapat corporators to, hindi corporation. So number 1 is the corporators. Those who compose a corporation, incorporators, shareholders, or members. So number 2, incorporators. These are the shareholders or members mentioned in the articles of incorporation as originally forming and composing the corporation and are signatories to said articles of incorporation. They must be natural person. So natural person meaning human being sila, hindi sila yung what do you call that? Artificial being, parang corporation. So dapat natural person daw sila as distinguished from artificial being. So ayun nga sabi ko kanina, natural person dapat at hindi artificial being. And incorporators will always retain his status as such, though no longer having an interest in the corporation. Number 3, shareholders or what we call stockholders. These are the corporators in a stock corporation. And si shareholders naman may be natural or juridical person. So number 4 is the members. So number 4, these members are the corporators of this non-stock corporation. Sabi ko nga kanina, nabanggit ko siya kanina sa parang nung din-differentiate natin ng stock and stock corporation and non-stock corporation. So number 5, subscribers. Person who agreed to take and pay for original unissued shares of a corporation formed or to be formed. So number 6. So number 6 is promoters. These are the persons who bring about or cause to bring about the formation and organization of a corporation. So sila yung nasa likod ng promotion na nabanggit ko kanina sa steps ng creation. Yun yung mga tawag sa taong nag-bring up ng formation or organization ng corporation. So number 7 is the underwriters. These are usually investment. Wait lang. Wait lang guys, may inaayos lang ako kasi may nag-notify sa yung recording kanina. So ayun. So balik tayo, number 7. Underwriters. These are usually the investment bankers who have agreed alone or with others to buy and state terms an entire or substantial part of an issue of securities, or guaranteed the sale of an issue by agreement to buy from issuing corporation any unsold portion at the stated price, or agreed to use his best efforts to market all or part of an issue, or offered for sales shares he has purchased from a controlling shareholders. So number 8 is the independent director. Independent director is a person who, apart from his fees and shareholdings, is independent of management and free from any business or other relationship which could reasonably be perceived to materially interfere with his exercise or independent judgment in carrying out the responsibilities of a director. So, publicly held corporation, as earlier defined, shall have at least 2 independent directors. So, kailangan may 2 siyang independent directors and at least 20% of the members of the board, which is lesser. And this is being done to protect the interest of the shareholders and investors. And then the election of independent director is done during the annual stockholders meeting by the stockholders themselves. So mag-move naman tayo sa classes of shares. So meron yung 10. So una is the par value shares. So number 1, it is one in which a specific amount is fixed in the articles of incorporation and appearing on the certificate of stock. So the par value is the minimum issue price of the shareholders. So under section 16 ng Corporation Code, it states that preference shares of stock may be issued only as par value shares. Then, yung number 2, pangalawang class ng share is non-par values. One without any appearing on the face of the certificate of stock. So, unlike si par value nag-a-appear daw siya sa certificate of stock. While si non-par value shares naman daw is without any value. Hindi siya fixed. Hindi fixed yung value niya. Unlike si par value na fixed yung value niya na nag-a-appear sa articles of incorporation. Nag-a-appear sa certificate of stock pala, sorry. So, par value share may have a stated value which may be fixed in the articles of incorporation or by the board of directors or the stockholders. Thus, the issue price may vary from the time as it is usually fixed based on the book of value of the corporation's shares. And then number 3 is the minimum stated value. So, minimum stated value of no par value share is 5 pesos per share. In addition to shares issued without par value are deemed fully paid. So, banks, trust companies, insurance companies, public utilities, and building and loan associations are not permitted to issue no par value shares of stock. And then number 4 is the voting shares. Ito naman yung those issued with the right to vote. And then number 5, si non-voting shares. In those issued without the right to vote. So kapag may voting share ka, mayroon kang right to vote. And then kapag yung shares mo naman is non-voting shares, wala kang right na mag-vote. Pag number 6, si ordinary shares. So ordinary shares, these are shares entitled the holders to an equal pro rata division of profits without any preference. And number 7 naman, these shares entitle the holder to certain advantages or benefits over the holders of ordinary shares. So, ilang beses na natin itong nabanggit sa partnership nung diniscuss siya. Si preference shares, ito daw yung may mga advantages or benefits. And then, kung ano yung matitira sa kinuha ng mga preference shareholders, yun naman yung paghahatian ng mga ordinary shareholders. So, kaya nga sabi dito, mayroon silang certain advantages or benefits kaysa sa mga ordinary shareholders. Number 8 is the promotion shares. Those issued to promoters as compensation in promoting the incorporation of a corporation or for services rendered in launching or promoting the welfare of the corporation. So, yung mga promoters, as nabanggit ko kanina, syempre, hindi naman nila yung ginagawa na libre lang. So, meron silang compensation through promotion shares. And then number 9, treasury shares. It is the stock that has been issued by the corporation as fully paid and later reacquired but not retired. And then last is the convertible shares. It is stock which is convertible or changeable from one class to another class. So parang si preference shares is gagawin mong ordinary shares. Parang ganun siguro yung convertible shares. As an example lang. So, sa book nyo, dun sa PDF na nasa amin, wala na siya. Ang sabi doon is no minimum capital stock. So, isa to sa mga parang under topics niya, no minimum capital stock. So, sabi dito, a stock corporation shall not be required to have a minimum capital stock except as otherwise specifically provided by special law. So, yun nga, si stock corporation daw, dapat wala siyang minimum na nire-require na capital stock unless nga daw provided ng special law under section 12. So the minimum paid in capital of at least 5,000 under Section 13 of the Corporation Code of the Philippines was deleted. So, ano kasi sa nung hindi pa nare-revise yung Corporation Code, meron pang parang may nire-required. Nung hindi pa nare-revise yung Corporation Code of the Philippines, under Section 13, si minimum paid in capital, mayroon siyang required na at least 5,000. At least 5,000 yung required na minimum paid in capital. Pero dahil nga na-revise na yung Corporation Code, so dahil na-revise na yung Corporation Code, ang sabi naman doon, wala na yung deleted na itong minimum paid in capital, itong nire-required na 5,000 as a minimum paid in capital. So, ayun. Next is, there is also no minimum subscribed capital and no minimum paid in capital requirement. The requirement under Section 13 of the Corporation Code of the Philippines, which states, at the time of incorporation, at least 25% of the authorized capital stock, as stated in the Articles of Incorporation, must be subscribed, and at least 25% of the total subscription must be paid upon subscription, has been deleted in the Revised Code Corporation of the Philippines. Revised Corporation Code of the Philippines. So dati, at the time of incorporation daw, dapat meron kang authorized capital stock at least 25% na nakasubscribe daw. And then at least 25% nung total subscription mo must be paid. Ngayong na-revise na yung na-revise na yung Corporation Code. Ngayon wala na daw yung at least 25% ng subscribe. Wala na daw yung at least 25% ng authorized capital stock. And then yung yung 25% ng subscription must be paid. So wala na yan ngayon since na-revise na. So take note that the 25% subscribed and the 25% paid up rule is applicable when the corporation increases its capital stock under Section 37. So kahit naman daw deleted na tong at least 25%, applicable pa daw siya kapag yung corporation daw is nag-increase ng capital stock. So punta tayo sa corporate organizational structure. So, ano yung corporate capital? Ano tong mga to? So, si shareholders, it has the ultimate control. Wait lang. Ito yung hierarchy ng organizational structure ng corporation. So, si shareholders daw has the right to elect the board of directors. And then si board of directors, sila naman yung mag-i-elect sa officers. And then si officers, sila yung mag-hire ng employees. So, sabi dito sa book, the ultimate control rests on the shareholders. O yung, sila daw yung may ultimate control. And then, they has the right to elect the top governing body of the corporation or the members of the board of directors. So, ayun nga, nagkakaroon ng, members ng board of directors. Ang mag-i-elect ng board of directors ay sina shareholders or what we call the owners. So, ayun, si board of directors naman daw, sila yung responsible for the formulation of the overall policies for the corporation and for the exercise of the corporation's power. So, si board of directors, sila din yung nag-i-elect ng chairman of the board. So sila yung, sabi mga parang nagde-decide kung sino yung chair of the board. And then, oh wait lang, nag-move. And then, ayun nga, sabi ko kanina, sila yung nag-i-elect ng officers. So yung officers or the administrative officers of the corporation, sila yung nag-i-implement ng policies of the board of directors and actively manage the day-to-day activities of the corporation. And as a officer or the administrative officer, they are the one who hire employees for the corporation. So, ayun. So, itong officer, sila ang tawag doon? They are composed, or this team include the president, executive vice president in charge of sales, manufacturing, accounting, finance, administration, and other key areas, secretary, treasurer, and other control. So, ayun. Sa under corporation code, section 24 yata, or section 25, si president daw ng corporation must be a director of the corporation, but he cannot act as a president and secretary or as a president and treasurer at the same time. So si president daw, hindi siya pwedeng president siya at the same time is secretary, or hindi pwedeng mag-act si president as a president and treasurer at the same time. So hindi pwedeng ganun. Si president daw is the only officer required by the law to be the director. So ayun, move naman tayo kay corporate secretary. So si corporate secretary daw must be a resident and a citizen of the Philippines. So, ano nga ba si corporate secretary? Siya yung nagmi-maintain and nagkikip ng record ng corporation regarding to all its affairs or transactions. So, corporate secretary, he need not be a director unless required by the law, by the corporate bylaws. So, unless ni-required daw ng bylaws, si corporate secretary, hindi niya kailangan maging director. So, ayun. Punta tayo kay corporate treasurer. So, si corporate treasurer is the proper officer entrusted with the authority to receive and keep the money of the corporation and to disburse them as he may be authorized. The treasurer may or may not be a director. So, ayun nga, si corporate treasurer, siya yung entrusted to receive and keep the money of the corporation. And pwede siya, sabi nga dito, may or may not be director. So, pwede siyang maging director and pwede rin hindi. Unlike kay corporate secretary. So, ayun. Move na tayo sa corporate books and record. So, sabi dito, every private corporation, stock or non-stock, is required to keep books and record at its principal office of the following. So, ito yung mga following na nakalagay doon. So, basahin natin siya. So, number 1 is the minute book. Sorry. Pumiyok pa ako. So, number 1 is the minute book. It contains the minutes of the meeting of the directors and stockholders. So, ayun. Habang nag-meeting, may parang sabi naman may nagtitake note kung ilang minuto na yung meeting. And yun yung nakalagay sa minute book. Sa number 2 naman, stock and transfer book. It is a record of the names of the shareholders, installment paid and unpaid by the shareholders, date of payment, and then yung any transfer of the stocks and dates thereof, by whom and to whom made. So, ayun. So, ito yung record kung sino yung mga shareholders, kung bayad ba sila or hindi, kung kailan sila nagbayad, and kung kanino nila transfer, and kailan nila transfer yung stock nila. Sa Book of Accounts naman, this represents the record of all businesses transactions. The Book of Accounts normally include journal and the ledger. So, ayun, Book of Accounts. And then number 4, subscription book. Ito naman yung book of printed blank subscription. Number 5, shareholders ledger. It is a ledger which details the number of shares issued to each shareholders. So, andito kung gaano kadami yung kung gaano kadami yung shares issued sa isang shareholders. Then, nag-move. So, number 6 is the subscriber's ledger. So, it is a subsidiary ledger for the subscription receivable account, and it reports the individual subscription of the subscriber. And lastly is the stock certificate. It is a book of printed blank certificates of stocks. So, last is under section 73 daw, it provides that every corporation shall keep and carefully preserve at its principal's office all informations relating to the corporations, including but not limited to number 1. Number 1 is the articles of incorporation and bylaws of the corporation and all their amendments. Number 2 is the current ownership structure and voting rights of the corporation, including list of stockholders or members, groups structure, intra-group relations, ownership data, and beneficial ownership. Number 3, the names and addresses of all members of the board of directors or trustees and the executive officers. Number 4, a record of all business transactions. Number 5, a record of the resolution of the board of directors or trustees and of the stockholders or members. And then number 6, copies of the latest reportorial requirements submitted to the commission. And number 7 is the minutes of all meetings of the stockholders or members and of board of directors or trustees. So, dito na nagtatapos ang ating discussion today. Thank you for listening, future CPAs. So, ayun. So, sagot lang tayo ng, sabihin mo ng 11 questions ng multiple choice ng book nyo, kung okay lang. And then after nun is magte-take na tayo ng attendance. And pwede nang mag-leave. So, pag nag-end to later, balik muna kayo kasi syempre hindi pa tayo nagte-take ng attendance, diba? So, ayun. Mag-answer muna tayo ng few multiple choice questions. So, pwede kayong mag-unmute or sa chat box na lang yung answer. So, number 1, an ordinary or preference shareholder is similar to to a blank because he can lose no more than the value of the investment. Letter A, general partnership, general partner. Letter B, limited partner. C, sole proprietor. D, nominal partner. Letter E, stockbroker. So, sa chat or pwede kayong mag-unmute. So, ayun guys. So, may isa nang nagsagot, si atin yung Irish. So, pwede na siguro to. I-reveal ko na yung answer. Reveal ko na ba? Sige, re-reveal ko na. So, yes, tama si Ate Irish. Ang sagot dito is letter B, si limited partner. Kasi nga, kapag si limited partner, liable lang siya up to its number of shares. And sabi dito, ang sabi dito kasi is, he can lose no more than the value of the investment. No more than the value. So, similar siya kay limited partner. Sa number 2, what is the primary disadvantage of both a sole proprietorship and a partner that a corporation overcomes? So, ano yung disadvantage na mayroon si sole proprietorship at partnership na wala kay corporation or nalamangan ni corporation? Ayun, may nag-answer na. So, basahin ko lang yung choices. A, no excess capital. B, taxing complication. C, unlimited liability. D, is of start. And D, lack of secrecy. So, yes, tama si Miss Diaz. Tama si Miss Diaz. The answer is letter C. So, si atin yung Irish, ang sagot niya is D. So, mali yun kasi hindi, yung is to of start, hindi siya disadvantage ng sole proprietorship at partnership. Ito yung advantage ng sole at partnership. Pero kasi, ang hinahanap kasi dito is yung disadvantage ng both partners and sole proprietorship. So, nabanggit doon sa mga previous discussions natin na disadvantage ng sole proprietorship at partnership ang unlimited liability. So, number 3, a corporation whose stock can be purchased by anyone and is traded in the stock market is known as A, government-owned corporation. Letter B, closed corporation. Letter C, open corporation. And letter D, not-for-profit corporation. So, ayun, pwede na kayong mag-chat ng answers. So i-reveal ko na yung answer. So, ang sagot dito is letter C, si open corporation. So, si open corporation kasi is a corporation whose shares are open to the public. Unlike kay closed corporation, ayun, tama si Ate Irish, nag-answer pala siya. Unlike kay closed corporation, na limited lang siya or selected sa family lang, part ng family na dapat is 20 persons lang. Si open corporation is open to all. Sabihin, tulad ng sabi ko kanina. Open to the public siya. So, ayun, mag-move tayo sa number 4. So, shares of First Global Extractive stock cannot be purchased in any stock exchange or by just any individual. This means that First Global Extractive is a partnership. B, open corporation. C, family corporation. And letter D, closed corporation. Ayun. May answer si atin yung Irish. Nag-answer na siya. So, reveal ko na yung sagot, guys, para hindi na din tayo matagalan. So, the right answer is letter D. So, ayun. Sabi dito kasi, hindi siya basta-basta nabibili ng kung sino lang. Ang sa closed corporation, nung dinefine natin siya kanina, sabi doon, it is limited or selected sa family members at least 20 person. So, ayun. Ang makakabili lang is yung part ng family members. And then, number 5, when organizing a corporation, the incorporators submit articles of incorporation to the judge, letter B, the Securities and Exchange Commission, letter C, National Bureau of Investigation, letter D, Board of Investment. So, kanino nila sinesend yung mga articles of incorporation? Kanino nila sinasubmit? So, less than 1 minute, guys. Balik kayo after mag-end nito. So, may isa nang nagsagot. Ayun, may dalawa na. So, right, ang tamang sagot is letter B. Tama sina Ina. Sinasubmit ang Articles of Incorporation sa Securities and Exchange Commission. So, tandaan nyo yan, guys. So, number 6. So, ayun guys. Sa number 6. Ordinary shares carry all the following rights except the right to A, share in profits. B, receive information about the corporation. Letter C, receive part of the profit before other classes of shares. Letter D, attend the annual shareholders meeting. So, ayun, pakitype na lang yung answers. Ayun. May mga nag-answers na si Ate KAYSY at si Ate Irish. So let's reveal the answer. So yes. Wait lang. So yes, ang tamang sagot is letter C. Receive part of the profit before other. May nag-join. So, ayun. So, ang sagot is receive part of the profits before other classes or shares. So, wala silang right na ganun. Kasi sabi nga natin, nung mga part, compared kay preference shares, sila yung mga nauunang nagkaka-receive ng profit. And kung ano lang yung matitira, yun yung profit na paghahatian ng mga ordinary shareholders. Number 7, how can the following statement be best explain the shareholders control the activities of a corporation? So letter A, all shareholders vote on all the major issues and problems that a corporation faces on a monthly basis. Letter B, shareholders are intricately involved in the daily operations of a corporation. Letter C, shareholders elect the board of directors, and this board is responsible for appointing corporate officers who manage the daily business of the corporation. Letter D, shareholders, both the members of the board of directors and this board makes all the daily business decisions of the corporation. Letter E, shareholders usually call corporation management and tell executives better way to run the organization. So, may isa nang nag-answer, si Ate Casey. So, reveal ko na yung answer. So, yes, tama si Ate Casey. The answer is letter C. So, sabi nga natin kanina, si shareholder daw has the ultimate control of the activities ng corporation. And si shareholders din daw, sila yung nag-i-elect ng board of directors. And si board of directors, siya naman yung responsible to appoint the corporate officers or yung sa administrative officers. And then si officers naman, siya yung nag-hire ng employees and nagmamanage ng daily business of the corporation or yung mga transaction ng corporation. So, C yung tamang sagot. Number 8. The top governing body of a corporation is known as A, incorporators, B, shareholders, letter C, management, letter D, officers, letter E, board of directors. So, patype na lang ng answers. Ayun, may nag-answer na si Ate Irish. So, ayun, nag-answer din si Miss Avril. So, let's reveal the answer. So, yes, tama kayo. Si board of directors or letter E yung sagot. Kasi, di ba nga sabi kanina or nabanggit ko kanina na si board of directors is the governing body ng corporation or sila yung nagmamanage or responsible sa decision making ng corporation. So, let's move on sa number 9. So, number 9, corporate officers are A, elected by the shareholders, B, appointed by the board of directors, letter C, appointed by the management, letter D, elected by the incorporators. So, patype na lang ng answers. Ayun, nag-answer na si Miss Avril and si Ate Casey and si Ate Irish. So, yes, the correct answer is letter B. Kasi nga, bakit mali yung A? Yung letter A kasi, si shareholders, ang ini-elect niya is si board of directors. Ngayon, si board of directors, siya naman yung responsible para mag-appoint ng corporate officers. Yung corporate officers, yan yung sa mga administrative officers, composed of the president, corporate secretary, and corporate treasurer. And then, move tayo sa number 10. Which of the following is not a disadvantage? Ayun not a disadvantage of the corporate form of ownership. So, A, difficulty of formation, limited liability, C, expense of incorporation and selling stocks, letter D, lack of secrecy. So, ayun, nag-answer na sila. So, may nag-answer na si Ate Irish and si Miss Avril. So, ayun, pati si Miss Ira and si Nina nag-answer na. So, yes, the correct answer is limited liability. So, hindi siya disadvantage ng corporation. Kasi nga, nabanggit ko nga kanina na, tama, nabanggit ko na to kanina. Hindi niya disadvantage. Hindi niya disadvantage ang limited liability. Kasi, advantage niya to. Advantage ng corporation ang limited liability. Kaya hindi siya disadvantage. Sa number 11, last question. The order of difficulty and expense from most to least when forming a business organization is as follow. So, letter A, corporation, sole proprietorship, partnership. Letter B, corporation, partnership, sole proprietorship. Letter C, partnership, corporation, sole proprietorship. Letter D, partnership, sole proprietorship, partnership. Letter E, sole proprietorship, partnership, and corporation. So, ang hinahanap dito is yung from difficult to easy. To easy. Sabihin na natin na formation. So, yun, nag-answer na si Ate Casey and si Ate Irish. So, wait natin yung mga first year kung alam nila. Pero feel ko naman alam na nila to. So, ayun. May nag-answer na si Miss Ira. So, yes, the correct answer is letter B. Tama kayong tatlo. Kasi, di ba nga, si corporation, ang dami niyang kailangang pagdaanan bago siya ma-form. And then, sumusunod doon si partnership na with a mere agreement ng both partners, mapo-form na siya. And then, si sole proprietorship, siya yung pinaka madaling i-form. So, ayun. So, mas mahirap si corporation i-form kaysa kay partnership at si sole proprietorship. Sunod, kung ipagko-compare natin si sole proprietorship at partnership, mas mahirap din i-form si partnership and pinakamadaling i-form si sole proprietorship. So, yun lamang for today. Tapos na ang ating discussion. So, pa-open na lang ako ng cameras para sa ating documentation and for attendance. Mag-take na tayo. So, next, guys, Thursday. Okay lang, okay lang, note ko na lang mamaya dun sa attendance. So, next Thursday, ang magdi-discuss na sa inyo is sina ate nyo, Casey, ate KARRAH, and ate Ana, and then si ate Irish about sa sa share dividends, may retained earnings ba? Sa parang part 2 ng partnership. Ando na din yung financial reporting. So, sila ang magdi-discuss. So, ito-take ko na. 1, 2, 3. So, isa pa. 1, 2, 3. So, ayun guys. Baka last meeting na natin siguro sa Thursday. If wala nang kailangan pang gawin. Inform ko na lang kayo kung sakali. So, ayun. Baka nga last meeting na natin ng Thursday. So, bye-bye. Pwede na kayong mag-lunch guys. Sorry sa pag-extend. 12:00 na pala. So, ayun. Pwede na tayong, kaunti lang. Pwede na tayong magdiwang. Kasi malapit ng Christmas break. Pero may exam pa tayo. So, kailangan pa din nating mag-review guys. So, ayun. Good luck sa incoming exams natin. So, ayun. Pwede nang mag-leave. Thank you.
Thank you po.
Welcome. Ayun. Ayun nga, sabi nga ni ate nyo, Irish. Okay lang daw yan kasi may mga time na di tayo nakakapag-meet. So, ayun. Bye-bye. So, end ko na yung meeting.